What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, let's talk about Marvel's Spider-Man 2. A couple, obviously, big things to talk about. I want to start with the non-release date. I know it's just at the front of my mind, so let's get it out of the way early, and then we'll go over some of the biggest things I think that we saw in that gameplay. But the fall thing, to me, is extremely interesting. I really thought I would get a date. I thought they would end with a legitimate date. Tony Todd accidentally, right, spilled the beans, talked about that it's releasing in September. Now, he definitely broke an NDA by doing that. I'm sure he got in some trouble doing it. But here's the thing. If it was releasing in September, and this is just me being confident, I guess I don't know this for sure, but I feel like you would show a release date. In fact, you want two quick examples, Alan Wake 2 and Assassin's Creed Mirage. Both of those were also at this showcase, and they're coming out in October, and they got dates, right? October 12th and October 17th. So the fact that Spider-Man 2 does not get a date and it just says fall, to me, that's, I want to say November. I'd be open for October. I think October is definitely possible. But again, I mean, Alan Wake and Assassin's Creed both got mid-October dates. You think if Spider-Man 2 is coming out in early October that it would have gotten the date here. So I don't know if that alarms me. I don't know if the game, or I don't think the game is going to come out in like 2024 or anything. I guess that's possible, but I don't really want to jinx it. And it looks like it's in good condition. It looks like there's polish still obviously needed, but you got, 4 or 5 months until then. And I guess this gives them another opportunity to show the game maybe in like July and say, okay, here's the date. You're going to see it again. So, maybe another opportunity to do it in a few months down the line. But that is something I wanted to focus on because I just thought we would get a date. And now maybe November. I'm not really all that mad because October's packed. September has Mortal Kombat and Starfield. So you have like huge games every single month. Spider-Man gets its whole month, let's say, with November. I'm okay with that. In terms of what we saw, I thought it was fantastic. The only negative I would say about the entire thing was that fall 2023 and not giving a date. But what we saw was spectacular. I mean, it was exactly what I kind of wanted to see. I was close to my predictions with it. We got that trailer, the more story-oriented thing. But look, this seems to me like a game that is going to be pretty darn big, not necessarily because of like the scope or, you see Queens and you're interacting in Queens and all that, but literally the way the time period is going, right? So you have like Kraven and his story, and then it says 6 months later, right? So it jumps, it's doing a story mission, but then Peter is already having the symbiote, right, attached. So then he talks about Harry, right? Harry's dying, and Lizard is the only, one that can fix it or, whatever. So there definitely seems to be multiple plot lines going on, and we kind of know that, right? From the trailer, the first trailer, we had Kraven narrating, and then we had Venom. So it definitely seems like it could be almost a tale of two different stories that kind of collide maybe like 25-30% into the game. That's what it seems like to me. But what we saw, I mean, holy God, it looks fluid. It looks beautiful. Specifically, I mean, when it swaps to Miles and Miles is swinging around and then you have the web wings, it looks so good. We all know how the swinging feels. I can imagine how gliding or flying, gliding maybe is the better term, right? I can imagine that feels very, very good. I really have no doubts that they can pull that off. The combat looks extremely good. You see some new, now like Miles shows off some abilities. Peter, a lot of his abilities were more of like the Venom stuff, right? Which was so sweet to see that in action. But they showed you everything. You got story, you got sneaking around just a little bit with Miles, you got kind of like brute force gameplay with Peter, you got Miles fighting as well, and then you just had this, and can I say it? I think this is kind of fair. It was Uncharted 4. Okay, this was Insomniac saying, we really like what Uncharted 4 did there with the caravan kind of thing. Let's do the same thing. Let's use water, let's use Lizard, let's use helicopters, let's use all this stuff, and we're going to make like an on-rails thing where you're going to be able to dodge a little bit, and it's very fluid. You're swapping between the two of them, dynamic, right? These kind of real-time events going on. It was fantastic. And the best thing about it, I believe, because we kind of got that for the original, I'm not saying like Spider-Man 2018 didn't have these moments. It did. This just reminded me a lot of Uncharted 4. But the thing you got to remember with Spider-Man 2018, it was one of kind of many. There was a lot of really big moments like this in the game. So although this was a gigantic event, it was like 10 minutes of gameplay, and it seemed like it was one thing after the other. Like this was a legit mission. You have to imagine there's gonna be things that either will match it at different parts of the game, or there'll also be things that can top it at different parts of the game, right? So this was just kind of whet your appetite, and you're going to get more of it, or maybe even better things than it when the game comes out and you get to play it fully. So it definitely, look, everybody was excited for this. Everybody knew that it was going to be like really good, kind of on a bad day, it would be really good. And that's what it was. It was an excellent top tier, whatever, you want to kind of say. It was definitely a good closing for the showcase. I guess if you use it as an opening, you wouldn't have really had anything to close with, because this was the strongest thing I think they had. And so there you go. And again, I'm sure we'll see it again in another month or two. You kind of have to, because you got to give, I would say, 2-3 months head start, or notice that when the game's coming out. So the game comes out in November, I think August you'd probably say it, or maybe even July, or you can mess around with it. But again, I think the fall 2023 thing could also just be that they don't know the day. Maybe they're shooting for October, but they're like, well, we're not going to rush it, right? It's going to have the time to cook and come out when it's ready. So November is possible. So I would probably imagine or bet on they're kind of conflicted and they don't have a set date locked in. It's not like they're afraid to say it. They probably just don't know when it's going to kind of lie. And so you kind of have like a fall, right? It's ambiguous. You don't really know. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.